All right, welcome to another edition of the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Zellea from backsportspage.com, and thank you for making us a part of your week. And it is Royal Rumble weekend coming up here. Lots to talk about, a lot to be excited about. And of course, our guest this week is Charlie Haas from the World's Greatest Tag Team, Team Angle, and many different adventures with Charlie Haas, being most recently in Impact against Josh Alexander. Excellent match. But let's jump into the Royal Rumble weekend first before we jump into AEW Dynamite and get to Charlie Haas as well. This week, the Royal Rumble, look, lots of surprises being planned for both the men's and women's matches. Heard earlier today that Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle might be part of the match. Jeff Jarrett might be part of the match. Lots of different surprises, different legends for the men's matches. People are expecting Cody Rhodes or Jon Moxley or Chris Jericho. They're going to be sadly disappointed. I can't see any of those guys from AEW showing up there. They don't really have much of a working relationship. The fact that Mickie James is appearing in the women's match, people are forgetting that Impact has Mickie on loan from the NWA. So people seem to gloss over that fact. But overall, the two Royal Rumble matches are always fun. The different surprises. The rumor of Ronda Rousey coming back. Look, here is my biggest problem. My problem with Ronda Rousey, the same problem they have with Becky Lynch, is both women have destroyed their women's rosters so much that there's nobody left for them to challenge. And unless they're going to keep fighting each other all year round, Ronda just decimated that women's division, and it's not really a very fun, exciting time to have her come back. WWE needs some mainstream attention. They're a little dinged up right now, but Ronda Rousey coming back doesn't really do much for me. From the men's side, it's very interesting to see what they're going to do. If Kurt Angle does come back, he's going to go after Happy Corbin to avenge the loss from WrestleMania. And then we also have the two title matches from the Royal Rumble. Seth Rollins will battle Roman Reigns, the Battle of the Shield Brothers. Again, he dropped Jon Moxley's name, and all of a sudden the world is turning into Moxley's returning to WWE. It's not going to happen. He's very happy in AEW. He has a lot of grievances with WWE management. I can never see that. Not that they'll never get back on the same page, but they're just not going to be able to do business for a long time. Cody Rhodes working without a contract, so people are expecting him to show up in the Royal Rumble. I will say him being the number one, number two entrant and being able to do an entrance, his AEW entrance in WWE would be really cool, but it's not going to happen. Of course, the other championship match between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, sort of a dream match. Two MMA guys being able to give it a go. And you also have the two best mouthpieces in WWE between MVP and Paul Heyman. Both of those guys can talk people into a building. I think it's a great combination. I think it's going to be a very fun match. Brock doesn't work by the hour, so I don't expect a long match at all. I expect maybe 5, 7, 10 minutes at most. But it should be very, very fun. And it's very interesting to see how that match comes about. Over on the AEW side, Dynamite this week, Beach Break. Man, I got to tell you, Sammy Guevara and Cody Rhodes tore the house down. And it might be the best ladder match I've seen in about 5, 6 years, man, because Sammy Guevara just defies the odds. And, the people are not giving Cody Rhodes any credit on this. It takes two to tango. Cody Rhodes really put himself out there and trying to reestablish himself that he's still one of the best in the world. I love this promo from a couple weeks ago when he says, "I'm not turning heel because the people stayed with him during his tough time, so he'll take the booze." He's a very polarizing character right now in AEW. Very much looking forward to see what Cody goes to next. And for Sammy, there's a long list of challengers. I'm looking forward to seeing him fight. I wouldn't mind seeing him and Darby go at it one more time. It would be a lot of fun. And then the Hangman Adam Page really didn't appear on camera this week. His battle with Lance Archer is coming up in 2 weeks. The Orange Cassidy Adam Cole match was great. It was enough gaga, but enough fun to have a lot of fun. And it's funny. We were just talking about Becky and Ronda Rousey on how they sort of decimated the women's division in WWE. Look at Britt Baker. I don't see her passing on that torch for the championship anytime soon. I would love to see her and Thunder Rosa go back at it one more time, but I don't see really where they can go with Britt. Her coming out and start insulting the local towns and stuff like that. That's fine and fun and whatever, but I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know where you can go with Britt, because who's the next challenger? You're going to have her go against Hayter from her team, and then have her drop the belt to Hayter and make Britt chase again. I'm okay with that. And I also agree with her PWI awards this year. AEW really racking them up. But Britt Baker, what an amazing year that Britt had, and she was the most improved. I think from where she started in this company back in 2019 to where she is now, Britt Baker is a totally different talent. With that being said, obviously, don't forget to check out SmackDown. Well, it's Friday night. It's Friday right now, so check out SmackDown over the weekend. Check out AEW Rampage, and of course, this Saturday night, the Royal Rumble. 2 Royal Rumble matches. And of course, I left off the mixed tag match with the husband and wives matches with Edge and Beth Phoenix versus Miz and Maurice. I hope it's a good match. I'm gonna watch. Sit down and try and watch a full WWE pay per view is not an easy task, but I'm definitely gonna give it a go. All right, so right now our guest this week is Charlie Haas. You of course remember Charlie Haas debuting back in 2002, 2003 with the WWE. We broke down in this story how he got involved with developmental, his brother Russ, after he passed away, and how he and Shelton Benjamin became the world's greatest tag team. Of course, part of Team Angle, with working with Kurt Angle for a while. And man, I got to tell you, it's going to be a fun episode. I hope you guys enjoy the interview, and we'll come back right after the interview is done here on the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast. But right now, here is Charlie Haas. All right, we're back here on the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast. With me now, probably one of the best. In my opinion, one of the best wrestlers, pure wrestlers, to step in the game in my generation of being a pro wrestling fan, Charlie Haas. Charlie, it's good to have you on the show. Thanks for giving me a few minutes today.
No problem, man. Thank you very much, man. It's good to talk to somebody, man, from New Jersey. So let's rock it, baby.
Well, I really was very interested in talking with you. It's not only from what you're currently doing, but you have such a rich history in pro wrestling. You know, you started amateur wrestler, you being a Seton Hall guy, so you're a Jersey guy. When did your love for wrestling, not pro wrestling, just wrestling in general, start?
Let's see. That's a 2-point question. Amateur wrestling, it started in 7th grade when we moved to Oklahoma. I saw that going into junior high, they had junior high sports I was introduced to. And it was wrestling. But I grew up being a pro wrestling fan by the time I was like from 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And I saw that there was wrestling for junior high sports or middle school. And I went out for it thinking it was pro wrestling, but it was actually amateur wrestling. So I tell you, it was probably the hardest sport I ever went into because I was playing soccer and football. I was like, well, I needed a sport to do during the winter. So I started doing the amateur wrestling, but man, I absolutely sucked at it, man. I got my ass kicked for the first 2 years, and it was so bad that I went and tried out for basketball, but I can't jump and I couldn't shoot, so I went back to wrestling. So there you are. So once I started doing good in it and excelling, then I enjoyed it. But it's a sport. It's very hard sport because I started late in amateur wrestling where a lot of kids are starting early, like my kids have done. So.
And how much of it was you and Russ together, your brother Russ? Were you guys very competitive with each other with wrestling, like at home when you guys were growing up?
Oh yeah, very much so. We were very much competitive. I think we broke our shares of a lot. We broke a lot of beds, bed frames at least, and then it was like enemies, and then as soon as something broke, we were best of friends trying to fix it before mom and dad got home. A lot of holes in the walls, a lot of wallpaper had to be put up, a lot of pictures covering up holes. Yeah, it was yeah, exactly. So yeah, we were very competitive, man. It was very competitive nature.
Can you talk about wrestling at the collegiate level? Obviously, there's the high school level, very competitive. But can you talk about the different style and the different level it takes to when you do it in college?
Yeah, Seton Hall. Went to signed to go to Notre Dame. They dropped the program. And I'm going to Seton Hall, and I was very excited to do that. They offered me a full ride. Full ride back then was just tuition only, and I was able to. I went to Seton Hall after the Title IX kicked in, and Notre Dame shut down their program due to the lack of lack of women's scholarships, meeting the equality of the men's scholarships at the time. So they told me to come to Seton Hall. They brought in a top recruit. They had a top recruit named Lou Sergio. They had a kid, Joe Burke, that transferred in from Wagner. They brought myself in, another kid, Wade Rogers. We brought a kid in from Junior Nardone, who was also up in I can't remember what part of New Jersey he was in. I can't remember the name of it, but he was in. But so they were building a really good team, and they had some really good state placers and state champion out of where was Junior from? Man, his brother was a state champion. He was a state champion. John Perna was from there. I'm sorry that city slipped my mind, but no, New Jersey was just, had a lot of great talent. And so I was like, okay, let's go out there. It was close to the city. Also, I could get a good Big East education, graduate, and it was real close to the cities. I could work at, which I ended up working for Goldman Sachs, after it was all said down after I graduated. But it was a great place to work, to get on Wall Street and make money. So yeah, I was, so getting into Seton Hall, we were able to build this program to a top 13, top 9 program in the country. We upset, beat Lehigh, we beat Rutgers, Rider, wrestled Iowa State. I mean, we were really up and coming. It was a great program. We actually won the Big East my junior year. That was the first time we won it. So the Big Northeast at the time. So, so college wrestling is based on folk style wrestling. It's different than all over the world where, we have riding time, where the rest of the world, they don't do folk style. We're the only country that does that. They do freestyle and Greco, which you see in the Olympics. Freestyle, you're allowed to lock hands, it's throws, it's different time periods, different points, point system. And Greco is just all upper body, all throws. You're not allowed to touch the legs or anything below the body. And that's a different point system as well. Where in freestyle, you got to know, you got to be good on 3 different levels. You have to be good on your feet. You got to be good on bottom to escape reverses. And on top, you got to be able to hold them down and pin them. If you want to get a scholarship or like to Iowa, Penn State, you got to be able to finish, so.
And how did pro wrestling end up fitting into, like you said, you went on Wall Street. How did pro wrestling fit into this?
All right, so when I was a fan of pro wrestling my whole growing up, man, my whole life. From like I said, from the time I was in 3rd grade all the way up until now. And in college, I was bartending, and the Monday Night Wars were coming on, and then and also on top of that, ECW was breaking in. They were coming on. I want to say they were on. I want to say yes, Yankee Entertainment System or whatever, the Yankee station. That may not have been it at the time, but it was on at midnight, like on Saturday nights.
Yes.
Hardcore.
It was on MSG.
Yeah.
It was on MSG.
MSG. That's it. Okay, so it was on MSG. So I'd bartend, when we weren't, when I wasn't wrestling on the weekends, and even during the wrestling season's a winter season, so spring and and fall, it's we're in postseason and preseason, so I'm bartending Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. So I mean, I would do Monday Night War, parties at the bar. I was down at Paulie's down in Newark, New Jersey, and then I was just a big fan, and I saw that ECW was having I was getting ready to graduate. It was '96, and I saw that ECW had the House of Hardcore. Taz was doing that in Long Island. And so I went out there with my brother, and we're like, okay, we like to be pro wrestlers. We're big fans. We're amateur wrestlers out of Seton Hall. And Perry Saturn's like, well, it's going to be $3,500. So I'm like, well, we that's something we didn't have. We didn't have $3,500. We just, I just graduated, broke. And so what we did is we started bouncing, and we were looking for other schools, and some of the bouncers down at the Jersey Shore were like, okay, why don't you go to Myron Mike Sharp down in Asbury Park? It's $100 down, $20 a week. And I'm like, dude, I can do that. So we did that for about 10 months. Went to the school until he thought we were ready, and then we were off and running.
And how did the tryout with the WWE or WWF at the time come along?
So we were in the ring we were in the ring for about 5 years, working for Jersey All Pro, CZW, and then finally with Jim Kettner at ECWA. And what we were trying to do is, we knew that WWE was interested in us. Jim Kettner was polishing us up. We're working on a program with the Briscoe brothers that we just broke in down there with with Jim Kettner at ECWA. So Jim Kettner was great because what he did is he started the Super 8 tournament, big tournament. Mm-hmm. And that put a lot of the kids people were all wanting to get into Super 8. Magazines were really big. Internet wasn't really big yet. But they didn't have like, internet TV or YouTube or anything like that. You'd always have the nerd sheets that would give you the spoilers and all that. But so the magazines would just pump the Super 8. So, we were a tag team, so we really didn't wrestle in the Super 8. I didn't do that till later. But Russ and I were working a program with Kevin Kelly, who was an announcer at the time for WWF, and it was WWF before it was WWE. So he saw that we were ready. He contacted Jerry Briscoe, brought us to him, and Jerry Briscoe fell in love with us because we're both from Oklahoma, amateur wrestlers, and then we went on to it was and we came in, did a dark match. First dark match was at Madison Square Garden. And then we took off, man, from there. And, I think we signed like our second set of dark matches in Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, the old, what do you call it? Igloo, where the old Penguins would play. Yeah. So that's when we signed. Yeah.
What was it like for Madison Square Garden for a dark match, man? That place a lot of us. Talk about your memories of that.
Yeah. No, it was great. I mean, your first dark match in Madison Square Garden, it was exciting. What was great about it was the you had a lot of our fans came and saw, and they were chanting Haas brothers. So we got like a pretty good pop, or a good chant. And they're probably shocked to hear that. They're like, whoa. And but dude, we because we're built from Oklahoma. I'm in Oklahoma, but they're going nuts. So dude, it was a really, really, really good good experience, man. I mean, and you know what? We delivered, and they're really happy with it. And I think we ended up working the dubs that night. So yeah, it was pumped. It was really happy.
It's funny too. We went into developmental, and obviously, tragically lost your brother. Did you feel any sense of responsibility to sort of live on the legacy, not just for you, but for him as well?
Oh yeah, I did. When he passed away, I mean, we did the WrestleMania Access shows, and we were sitting at the Astrodome, and you could hear, Benoit and Angle just had a great match. We're like, man, we were supposed to be brought in to be Team Angle, and we were like, man, this is going to be unbelievable. We're really excited about this, and then he passed away. So then I'm like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Wrestling, the world moves on, even if you don't. So hold on, I lost you there. Okay. So so wrestling, man, wrestling, wrestling, the wrestling moves on. So what we had to do was I regrouped. I had a knee injury. I overcame that, which kind of helped me in that time. WWE was very gracious. They waited for my knee to heal after that. They sent me down to OVW, and Shelton was down there finishing up, and they decided to go ahead with Team Angle and put Shelton, Kurt, and I together. When the original, the four was supposed to be Russ, Kurt, Shelton, and I. And but because of that, they, it worked, and Shelton had the same work ethic as I did, and we just were determined to make it work. With Arn Anderson, coaching us for about a year until we were ready. And I couldn't thank him more, man. So I'm so happy that was, that Shelton had the same work ethic, and I couldn't thank Arn Anderson and WWE for being patient. So, so when we got to WrestleMania, here 2 years after Russ's, actually 2 years after Russ and I sat at the Access, it was WrestleMania 19, or at Safeco Field. And I'm like, you know what? Russ, I couldn't finish this story with you, but we started it together. But you're gonna live on through me, and I want to thank you for getting me there. So,
I have to ask a question about Arn Anderson. He is a straightforward and straight shooter, as everybody says he is, and as far as a trainer, and you have
he'll tell you, man. He's not gonna lie to you. If your match stunk, he'll tell you. We had some stinkers, and then he goes, "I'm not gonna lie to you, because if you have a good one." And I don't tell you, you had a stinker. Then he goes, well, you'll never know the difference of what's good and what's not. But, he is, dude, he's a straightforward. He's probably the most quick-witted son of a gun I've ever met, man. And then, he has it. He's awesome, man. He's awesome. He's not going to lie to you. He's going to tell you right away, So he's like a second father to me. So I can't, I love the guy. I thank him for everything.
And then you came in with Kurt, and working with you and Shelton. Kurt, it's funny. Kurt was a main event guy, but he'd only been in the company for a couple of years. You come in at a prime spot. What was some of the, not only from Kurt, but what was some of the advice that some of the bigger names at that time, The Rock, Hunter, Taker, Kurt, what was some of the advice that you were getting back then from them to sort of how to handle yourself, not only in the ring, but out of the ring too?
Well, it was, I knew, technically we were sound. And when we got brought up, we were thrown into like main event status. We're with Kurt. They're building for Brock. They were building us, to win, to win the tag gold, and we had to deliver on everything that we did. I cannot come, the advice, you can either take it or leave it. And Shelton and I, we had the same goal. Tag teams are different. If you have one guy that has another, if you have one guy's like, well, you know what, this is what I'm here for, and this is what I'll do it. And you guys don't click on the same thing. You don't have the same goals as a tag team. It doesn't work. You got to be on the same page. Thank God we were both on the same page. We wanted to be the best that we could be. We wanted to be the best team angle. We wanted to make it work. And then, we became the world's greatest tag team. We wanted to prove that we could be that as well. But we had the advice from hearing from like Undertaker, from JBL, from Kurt Angle, from Eddie Guerrero, from Benoit to Orton and Edge and Christian and Ray and Billy Kidman and so on, and Chavo and so on and so on, Val Venus. Here you are in the part of like you're coming out of one of the greatest stories of all time, with the Monday Night Wars. That 2002 class of OVW with the Jim Cornette really put his stamp of approval on, coming from Danny Davis and him, was unbelievable. But I mean, just to know that you have these greats that I mentioned, like Taker and Angle and all them, and they're giving you advice, and you can take it or leave it, and you're just like, man, you just keep your mouth shut, you listen, and you absorb what you can. And not only that, but the agents that we worked with behind the scenes as well, like, Jerry Briscoe, Arn Anderson, Steve Kern, Ricky Steamboat, Mike Rotundo, Tony Gurria, Beck Lanza, Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, you're watching guys that you grew up wrestling, and now they're your mentors. And, Dean Malenko, Dave Taylor, you're just like, man, I mean, it was a great time. And you know what? I was going to, they're going to have to drag me out, screaming or kicking. But I mean, I wasn't going to ruin this opportunity. And it was until they saw that it was time for me to go. I mean, I did the best I could. I was in the ring every day trying to learn from them. Dave Finley, was the man. Dave Taylor, trying to mix our amateur style with that pro-European style. It was I was very blessed, man, and I'm glad I kept my mouth shut and picked their brains and tried to absorb everything I could, because like I said, this business doesn't owe you anything. It's what you put into it, So.
And you and Shelton became on one of the best tag teams of that generation. And after your time with WWE, you and Shelton sort of went back on the independent scene together, went to Ring of Honor. What was it like being outside of the WWE, but with Shelton, and being able to, I guess, prove to everybody that you guys were the world's greatest tag team? That's hard to do, to keep that relationship going outside of the WWE.
Yeah, it is. But like Sean and I, it wasn't that we became best friends. We became brothers. Like he was. So we always stayed. We still stay in touch. Talked to him yesterday, actually. And dude, we talk all the time. And it's our relationship goes beyond wrestling. It's like I said, he's like my when Russ died, he became my brother, and he was there for me for everything. And, and I mean, he's like from my godfather to my child to best man at my wedding to just, thick and thin. When my dad was dying, he was there. So we were able to take, to go over to Ring of Honor, and Jim Cornette brought us in there, and we do the same work ethic, man. But this time we were seasoned vets. We had all this knowledge from, these great tag teams that we worked with, like Steve Kern was from the Fabulous Ones. Everyone, Rick Steamboat was great, but you gotta remember him and Steamboat and Youngblood were a great tag team. You had the Briscoes and brothers, and then of course Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. So we got all of this knowledge from all these tag teams. Now we're able to pass it on. And with the athleticism that Ring of Honor had and the great tag team, it was actually fun, because actually the tag team belts meant something now. At Ring of Honor, you had the All Night Express, you had like Kings of Wrestling, you had the American Wolves, you had the I mean, Generico, Cabana, you had the Briscoe brothers, I can go on and on, but it was such a great time to wrestle over there. And to win the tag titles, you really had to be on top of your game over there. It was a damn good tag team division. So we were happy to be there, and we were able to showcase our talent there.
How important, thinking back to your time with WWE, because I remember they had you do like the impersonations and stuff like that. How important what was it at that time? Were they putting wrestling, the actual pro wrestling product on the back seat and worried more about character, the silliness?
Yeah, they were doing that. It was also, they were, trying to find something to do. Johnny Ace came up with the character. I think they were trying to force me out at the time. Who knows? Or they're giving me a character to see if I didn't want to go with it, or if I'd have a bad attitude, to give them a reason to make me quit. But you know what? I embraced it. It was a chance for me to honor all these icons that I were able to portray. And man, I did the best I could. Man, I didn't want to make fun of anybody. I wanted to really do my best, from voice impersonations to the way they walked. To, I would study everything that they would tell me a week in advance, collect all the materials, tell them what I needed. And man, it was when people come to me and say, "Hey, remember when you did this character, that character?" It's not what I want to be known for, but you know what? If you got to be able to make fun of yourself, So I wasn't poking fun of any of these guys. I was just trying to honor them to the best of my ability, and have fun at the time doing it too.
Well, it came across like you were having fun. And I have to. Speaking of having fun, you're now involved with Impact Wrestling. Can you talk about what it's like to be a veteran walking into a younger locker room?
Well, a lot. It's great to see. It is great to see. A lot of the guys that I worked with the Ring of Honor. A lot of the guys that are like Eddie Edwards, was great to see him. D'Lo's working behind the scenes. Scott D'Amore, Dreamer, Gail Kim, people I've wrestled with that are now in upper management. But then to be able to, first I got to thank Impact for that opportunity. I'm very grateful for it. I've been off TV for a long time, but they gave me a chance to come back. I really, I've not signed with Impact. If they haven't offered a contract, we haven't even sat down and really talked about anything. I was waiting to see how the match went with yesterday, what it looked like, and I'm really happy. I'm happy with it. Josh Alexander was, dude, he's an ultimate pro. So and when I know they're busy taping TV. If we get a chance, and if something comes out of it, then so be it. If something comes out of it with another organization, then I'll be blessed, but I want to thank Impact for the best thing they could do is allowing me to have this chance, because not only do I want to work with the young talent coming in, because there is some exceptional talent, but I also, there's other places to work if it doesn't work out, but I want to be able to work behind the scenes as well. I want to work with tag teams specifically, because tag team wrestling is what my specialty was, or is. I've been trained, like I said, the people I mentioned who trained me, and I had some great tag teams I was part of. But I want to be able to work with tag teams and bring it back to where it once was. I think it's been lost. I think people kind of just like, they look for a tag team when they're two hot single guys they don't know what to do with, or they just find somebody that maybe a little bit better charisma or athletic out of the two, and they split them. So I think, if you get a couple of tag teams that want to stay together and work to main event status, which I think the first WrestleMania was based off of a tag team match,
Yes.
So why can't tag team wrestling be back to where it was? Why can't it be like an Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, the Four Horsemen versus the Rock and Roll Express, or the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express, or the New Age Outlaws versus the Hardy Boys, or Edge and Christian versus the Dudleys, or and so on and so on. So why can't it be like that again? So
one of my top two favorite matches of all time is the tag team match, and it's such a random tag team match, is the Hart Foundation versus the Brainbusters. And if you look at the
yeah, oh my God, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, the Hart, that's another thing. The Hart Foundation, unbelievable. The British Bulldogs, unbelievable.
The Rockers,
the Rockers, yeah. You're right. I always forget about mentioning that tag team generation. You're 100% right. When you had the Hart Foundation, the British Bulldogs. You had the Midnight Rockers, or the Rockers at the time. You had Brainbusters versus the Hart Foundation. 100%, man. What a great tag time era that was. And then, of course, you had Bart and Billy Gunn too that were coming up in that as well.
And then your Demolition also, can't forget them up until the New Day, the longest
Demolition
reigning.
as well. Yeah.
But not only that, but I gotta tell you, one of my favorite feuds back from your generation was when you and Shelton were feuding with the Guerreros. You couldn't ask for more solid tag team action than that. And just watching you guys, you felt. So one of the things that I measure professional wrestling with is not just the quality of the match or the promos, but if you want to be able to feel the passion of the performers in the ring. And I felt when you guys were working with the Guerreros that they were bringing out the best in you, and you guys were bringing out the best in them. And I think that's what's very important. You don't see that. You don't feel that with wrestling today.
And that's something the Guerreros really taught us, was how to feel it. But it took us a while, but we learned. We waited for them, and the first time we ever met them in a match was in the ring, like at a house show live event. That was that we didn't even talk about anything going out there. Like they dressed on the other side of the arena. We came out, and that was the first time we ever saw the Guerreros or met them was when their song hit. They were coming out to the ring, and it was there was some growing pains, but they taught us how to call it in the ring, how to feel it, listen to the crowd. And that's what brought us out. Once it clicked, dude, it was like Carlos said, Shakespeare, baby. It was pure Shakespeare. And you got to be able to feel that. You got to be able to feel that. And then if you feel it, the fans feel it. So I was very blessed to work with both Chavo and Eddie. So,
Charlie, well, we're all looking forward to seeing the next chapter of your career, both on and on the screen and behind the screen, helping some of the younger talent. I want to thank you for giving us a few minutes today. If you want to let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
I'm at Facebook fan pages are Real Charlie Haas and Wrestling's Greatest Podcast. I have my own podcast. So check out Wrestling's Greatest Podcast or at the Haas Pod. Also at Charlie Haas on Twitter. That really working on that. And I got my website, charliehaas54321.com, YouTube, Wrestling's Greatest Podcast. Check that out as well. And you can find me on Instagram, Real Charlie Haas, man. I got a lot of stuff going on with my kids there. I'm also wrestling for SWE, World Class Revolution, Texas Home Pro. I got Prestige coming up. Got the House of Pain tour kicking off. I got a lot of great, just follow. We're going to put the schedule up of where I'm going to be, but follow that, man. I got a lot of good stuff coming on. So looking forward to wrestling a bunch of whoever it is out there, man. Maybe Jonah, Malachi Black, Moxley. Maybe I get my Jericho match final. So I'm looking forward to wrestling everybody. So,
well, Charlie, thanks very much. Hold on 1 second. Thanks again for coming on.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, that was Charlie Haas here on the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast. Again, we have some great guests coming up, just like Charlie. And Charlie was great because he was just very open and honest. We said he's an open book, and he was opening up about his brother passing and talk about his time with WWE. And, now he's back on the scene after taking a little bit of a stint off to be with his family. He is back on the road and back looking to challenge anybody in the world of professional wrestling. Don't forget, this weekend we have the Royal Rumble and we have AW Rampage, WWE SmackDown tonight. And follow our show. Follow the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast on social media between Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Alyssa does a great job of getting everything out there for you guys. This show is produced by Andrew Fiume. He does an excellent job as well. Andrew has done video work through Catalyst Wrestling. We Are Wrestling. So Andrew knows what he's doing. His credentials are readily available. Again, my name is Randy Zellea from Back Sports Page, and we're going to be back here on the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast next week with yet another great story here for you, courtesy of backsportspage.com. This has been the Cut Pro Wrestling Podcast.